Good evening. It is Atlantic Television Network here in the Garden City of Port Harcourt, and the program is Press Round Table. Well, Press Round Table is a convergence of media practitioners. We come together to give insights and perspectives to news and current affairs, give them balanced views and opinions. Don't worry, we're here to do justice to it and bring it live to your living room. And we're not going to be different today. We're going to do that, but we'll start with the headlines that are trending. Tinubu wants ministers to deliver or get sacked. I must succeed by all means, Tinubu. And from Imo State, an NLC president has been arrested. Interesting story there. APC declared winner of National Assembly election, dismisses PDP and MPP's petition. And from Abia State Council report that Abia government is dedicated to plight of persons with disabilities. Well, dedicated to plight of persons with disabilities. That's what you should read, right? Okay, revisit 2014 conference to create partner for Nigerian development. That's what is being bandied about, and if you ask me, that's an interesting narrative. We'll be with you after this short break. We'll give real deep insights and perspectives to the stories. So, my name is Bon Woki. And of course, I won't tell you who is here until we come back on this short break. Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday challenges 48 ministers to deliver on their responsibilities or get sacked. Tinubu said he is determined to succeed in discharging his duties as president and charges cabinet members to ensure they don't become blocks wheel of Nigeria's progress. The president gave this charge while declaring open a 3-day cabinet retreat at the State House Conference Center, Abuja. The president is right. He's organizing a retreat, and you know what the importance of a retreat is: to look into what you're doing, what you ought to do, and then the way forward. See what you're doing at present, and see what could be done. Draw short-term, middle-term, and long-term plans for governance, and that's what the minister should be doing, no distractions, right? And he said, if you don't do well, I'll put you out.
First of all, I like I always say, when people do the right thing, I give them the applause that they deserve.
Yeah.
And for the president to be really active in that manner, it means that it's ready to work. Yeah. And that means he doesn't want any level of mediocrity. He doesn't want any level of backwardness or slow down in the whole job. So all hands have to be on deck, right? So nobody has to, sit at the back and wait for the other to work. Everybody has to work, and so I think that statement puts everyone to work very hard and not, think that it's business as usual. So if it's no longer business as usual, then people will be on, of course, their feet to really work. So I recommend it.
Yeah, I think that what the president is actually saying is that they should drive governance. Today, there are more challenges in the governance of this country. If it's the oil and gas sector, there's so much challenge. If it's in poverty alleviation, there's so much. The economy, there's so much challenge. Security, there's so much challenge. Education, agriculture, health, and what have you. Because we're talking about eradicating poverty. We're talking about wealth creation. We're talking about innovativeness and all that. So every ministry must drive those governance objectives. And the essence of a retreat is for you to understand what your governance objectives are and how to pursue them. What other challenges do you see that will confront these ministers?
Beyond the sector, a lot of challenges.
Yes, different sectors. Yeah.
But I think another challenge they have is also there's financial break. It's a problem with finance. It's not problem.
Because one thing is about
getting a plan.
Getting a plan is executing.
The money to execute.
For example, if you are Minister of Works, can you execute the plan?
Exactly.
And all that.
Exactly.
And the problem is that the budgetary allocation, it starts with the budget. Because, for example, the budget has a lot of deficit. Nigeria is borrowing to fund the budget. And that is the challenge of ministers today.
I really hope that although on the other way around, while the president is really pushing forward for them to work very hard, would as well make readily available every material, be it financial, be it in any form at all that will support them and make them be planned.
Yes, because one thing is to give others, another is to drive and pursue and encourage the ministers to carry out those orders. Because one is the challenge of not listening to the ministers. The ministers are also advisors. Another one is the issue of corruption, being vulnerable. And who makes the ministers vulnerable? The electorate. Most importantly, the so-called primordial public. You remember, those in political economy have always talked, or public policy, have always talked about the challenge of governance. And when you're talking about challenge of governance, you talk about two publics, the civic public and the primordial public. The civic public will not be a problem for these ministers because they will work within their terms of engagement to execute what they ought to execute. Of course, the civic public will pressurize them to ensure that they do the right thing, to work as check and balances. Of course, the civic public is very active and alive. The media is one of them. The social class out of power also belong to that. Then the assembly, members of the assembly who are doing oversight function also have that civic public orientation, as it were. But the public that distracts negatively is the primordial public. And these are the public that encourage corruption. If somebody is from Bori, if you are from Bori and he's a minister, Bori Deo, whatever you're doing, I don't remember us, you're wasting your time. You must bring home something. And that kind of pressure can make a minister get corrupt.
Truly. But then I may have to...
Corruption is a big challenge for them.
It's a big challenge, but I also think that while we are trying to get external factors, can we also look at internal factors? It still boils down to these matters.
Exactly.
Because
it is first, yes.
Irrespective of everything around you, and you decide to say, no, I wouldn't be a part of this.
Yes.
I'd rather leave the position than be a part of this. The right thing will be done. So in case of corruption, first, if the ministers dare to say, I will not be a part of this corruption that I've always criticized, and then that means the external factors will be secondary instead of being primary.
Exactly. So it's most important thing is about them. They must take full responsibility.
Exactly.
They must take charge of their ministries
100%.
and work with their civil servants. We saw the interface between Minister of Works and civil servants when he locked up the gate and all that. I think that that is important. Sometimes they say the civil servants indulge these political appointees into corruption and all that. I don't think that any minister that is worth the salt, that has integrity, any minister that has some moral rectitude and has a sense of responsibility to the nation and who understands the essence of governance will make sure that he lives above board. Living above board is the most important thing.
Of course.
That's the most important thing. Now let's look at what the president is saying again. I must succeed by all means. That's a screaming headline there. President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday declared that he must succeed by all means to deliver on the expectations of Nigerians who brought him into office and has therefore charged his ministers and other government officials to help him in this direction. He spoke at the opening of a 3-day retreat with the theme, delivering on the renewed hope agenda. That's their magazine. Organized by ministers, presidential aides, for ministers, presidential aides, permanent secretaries, and top government officials. The presidential villa in Abuja. He reiterated that as a human being, he will make mistakes. And when such errors are pointed out to him, we immediately correct them, and added that you are here to help me succeed. Tinubu declared that he is president for all Nigerians, irrespective of whether they are affiliated to political parties or not, noting that the country is one big family with people partitioned into different rooms. I like the fact that he talked about people coming from different political inclinations. And he talked about the fact that he was open to correction. Because one problem with working with leaders is their failure to open themselves to corrections. And I always talk about open governance. Okay. Open governance is very key. I think that the next retreat they should have is open governance, where everything that ought to be done should be not only to themselves but to the public, so that those activities will be seen on. Not just doing constructing roads. Let people see that you're constructing roads. Let there be budget vigilance in the country. Let people know what the budget is meant for, how the budget is being spent. With that, the president can be correct when he says, I will accept my mistakes.
Indeed. Indeed. I don't know. I feel really gladdened by the fact that the president is really taking such positive.
And is aware of his responsibility.
Exactly. The fact that he's saying he must succeed by all means. I'm sure what it means he must succeed by all genuine means. Right? And but the fact that he's calling on his colleagues, his ministers, and everyone, telling them you are here to make me succeed, it means he's ready to collaborate and to work in synergy with everyone. And that makes a whole lot of sense to me. You know, it's not like a case of a father who loves all his children. He says, like he said right there in the story.
Right, in the partition room.
Exactly. He said something in the story. He said...
Rooms in partitions.
Yes. He said, irrespective of whatever political
affiliation,
I'm the president. That's a fact. So I just hope that, at this point, I would simply say that I'm praying. As he says he will succeed by all means, truly he will. And him succeeding...
But he has no choice.
He has no choice
because the president has been, inundated with a lot of negative narratives. And he has no other choice than to prove Nigerians that he has something positive about him.
True. Nigerians voted him. Yes. Because at some point, we believe that he can take the job. And so he has to deliver. But sometimes, even when you vote someone in other cases in the past, you could vote them in, and in the end, they don't even have the zeal to really accomplish all the promise. And here is the man who is openly saying that he is willing and ensuring that Nigeria wants to succeed in his government. And you know what? You know the effect. If he succeeds in his government, that means the economy will be better. Because that's part of his
Because he has an enormous challenge. Because his first steps don't seem to be right. The removal of subsidy without putting in place appropriate thing. He seemed to have jumped the gun in removal of oil subsidy, and that has crippled the economy. He has, in conjunction with his ministers and the civil servants and all the political actors, ensure that that is remediated or remedied. The issue of wealth creation is important. Another faux pas, you're a French person.
Yeah, faux pas.
A wrong step. Another faux pas that President Tinubu took was, which has not seemed to be giving any positive vibe, as it were, let me use the young people's language, is floating the currency.
Okay.
So the Minister of Finance and the Minister of National Planning have a lot of work to do there. And I'm sure the central bank governor also has a lot of work to do. The economic team have a lot to do. You floated the Naira and the Naira floated away.
Literally.
And indeed, some people say it's not floating, it's sinking.
At this point, right?
At this point. So that is a problem.
It is a problem.
The other day I saw a Naira to $788 Naira. I said, we're coming down, it's coming down. Sometimes it goes to 1,000 and 130 and all that.
Yes, exactly.
So it's just floating, and it's not, floating well. And what we see is a sinking naira rather than actually floating naira. And that is one of the jobs they have to do. And they have to contend with insecurity challenges arising from insecurity. That also affect the economy and increases poverty. And a lot needs to be done in so many areas. Youth employment,
yes,
job creation.
A whole lot has to be done. But I always believe that before someone really could say something public, there are plans already being made.
No, we're already seeing the plan.
Yes.
And the New Hope agenda is their mantra, right? The New Hope agenda is their mantra. Let's see how the New Hope goes. So let's hope it doesn't become hopeless. It doesn't give us a hopeless nation. So we know, but what we're saying is that, yes, he has been, but most of the steps have been wrong steps.
Wrong steps.
You could do a very good dance, and once you throw the wrong step, you spoil the dance.
Everything. And the average Nigerian is scared.
Yes.
From the removal of the fuel subsidy till now, life has really been, hectic. The economy, it's like triple of what it's been. So, but we still, the Hope agenda is something positive.
Another challenge they have to face is cost of governance. 48 ministers is already an overbloated engagement, as it were, in governance. It's already overbloated. But let's see how they can justify their number. They say 2 heads are better than what? 2 good heads are better than 1. So let's see how these 48 heads can turn the fortunes of this country around. That's what we're looking at. And if the president says he will succeed, let's see how he's going to turn these 48 heads around the policies and programs of the so-called, sorry, I won't say so-called, the New Hope agenda, the program called New Hope agenda, to achieve something possible. Because, of course, as journalists, the cup is always half full.
Really?
We are not, it's never half empty, because that's not our orientation. Ethically speaking, you must be optimistic.
Truly.
Yeah, that's what we do in journalism. Those who are pessimistic in their approach are not practicing journalism, they're practicing something else.
I mean, we should be positive because we want the state to move ahead.
Exactly.
We want to be there.
Because we have some of our colleagues who look at the negative aspect of the country.
Yes.
To them, everything about Nigeria is like a cup that is half empty rather than half full.
We still have hope in the country.
So, and that's why I like the New Hope agenda. And hope is the reason that keeps people alive. Now let's look at the last story for this segment. Our president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero, has been arrested in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Ajaero was picked up from the Nigerian Labour Congress State Council, secretariat by heavily armed policemen in Owerri, and taken to an unknown destination. Head of media at the Nigerian Labour Congress, headquarters Benson Opa, said this to reporters. Nigerian Labour Congress is leading a statewide protest and strike in Owerri over what he described as lack of respect for workers, unpaid salaries, amongst others. Going to reporters, the Labour leader was arrested at the secretariat of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Imo State, while he was about to lead an Occupy Imo protest slated for today. The source said the police arrested Ajaero, giving reasons that the Labour leader had disobeyed an existing court order by the Nigerian Industrial Court, restraining the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trades Union Congress from carrying out any protest in the state. Labour Congress, NLC, and its leadership seem to be out there to fight injustice, defend the rule of law by fighting for the well-being of all Nigerians. When you go out of the way to disobey court order, what are we talking about, my brother? Are we talking about a state of anarchy? Labor agitation should not be synonymous with anarchy. That is one side to look at the story. The other side of looking at the story is, why is government always in a hurry to go to court to stop labor from organizing protests, rather than just being in a hurry to actually attend to their demands promptly, prompt attendance to their demands? There are two sides of the story. And two wrongs don't make it right.
Two wrongs can never make it right. Well, in this very story, I really wouldn't want to take a side. But however, be that it may, I still feel that the government at least try, so, to some extent, when they keep going for this protest almost all the time, sometimes it yields positive results, sometimes it doesn't.
So that's the only weapon we have. I mean, labor, sir.
Labor, yes, and continuous protest, yes, could be good, but in this very situation right now that the government stops, I still believe that for them stopping them at this moment, sure they have something on ground to really quickly attend to.
Yes.
Let's believe that that's the case. So they don't want anything to be rowdy. They don't need.
No. The point is that the security situation in Imo State is a very wrong environment. That kind of milieu will not encourage any form of unrest, because the Imo State is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. There's insecurity all the time, and we're entering an election this month. So for you now to compound that security situation with labor unrest will be quite insensitive. Yes, I accept that, but going forward, labor should do everything possible to ensure that it does not disobey court rules.
Really?
Just I said that the government on their side should always sit on the round table. So because you know why labor is doing this? People have called them names. If you mention NLC in Nigeria, they'll tell you, do you believe in NLC? Do you believe in NLC? Some people say they will compromise with them tomorrow. They collect money from government and do all manner of. If you call any journalist to this program, he tell you, I don't trust labor. I don't know whether you do.
Well, I still have some trust, level of trust in them.
Because of the kind of thing they are, because of this one they are doing. Now, can this convince Nigerians that, well, labor can bite?
Well, but honestly,
doing the right thing in the wrong way.
Honestly, they're still fighting regardless. They're fighting for their rights of people. And I still feel, even though they have been, stopped, their voices will be heard. Eventually, their voices will be heard because they're making the steps. And at least this one is not a faux pas.
Yes. And what do you think? Today I'm getting a lot of French was Milou. Because I know you are a polyglot.
Yes, I speak.
A polyglot, yes. And so that's one thing that we have to look forward to. We hope that the crisis in Imo State will be resolved, because labor should know when to bite and when to back down. And government should know how to look into the challenges of labor. Whoever has so much of labor, the Labor Congress has been disgraced in this country. They are no longer seen as a very serious group.
It's sad.
Nigerians look down on them. And this time, what they are trying to do in Imo State is like the kick of a dying horse. The last kick of a dying horse. To retrieve whatever credibility that could be left for them. So let's go on strike.
It's really pitiable.
And but they're dead. They've been arrested.
The president was being arrested. It's not funny. It's not nice.
So I think that it is what it is.
Really, truly.
It is what it is. Well, let's have the last say on that, and then we'll go on a short break.
Yeah, quick one. I would say that if they are giving if they're stopping them from protesting, that's one thing. Just like you rightly said, it's one thing to stop them from protesting, and it's another thing. So while stopping them from protesting, quickly attend to the needs so that there won't be needs. I mean, I'm not even sure that NLT was made for continuous protest. If things are orderly done, there will be need for constant protest here and there. So I'm still feeling that then the government, in any way, is trying to stop them from protesting, should be a signal that they want to quickly, urgently attend to their needs. So let's be very hopeful, positive.
And let's hope they will not be prosecuted.
They shouldn't be.
No, but when you go content of court, content of court is a misdemeanor that can be punished. I don't know whether it's criminal. I don't know how lawyers use it, but I know that it's a misdemeanor.
I understand. Since it's an order.
Yes, order of court. It's a content.
But can we see the plight of the people? I mean,
and you could be pushed into prison. Content of court.
I hope it doesn't.
And that will worsen government labor relations. It will worsen government labor relations.
I hope it doesn't get to that extent.
Well, definitely they must obey. They must be punished for doing that.
Well, it's true. I mean, in a bid to still make the voices heard, there should be level of respect for orders from the judiciary.
What I look exactly, the judiciary is an arm of government. Rule of law must prevail. If not, we have anarchy. But what I expect is at the end of the day, there should be some level of reprieve, right? How do you say it in French? right. So let's hope there's going to be some reprieve, and they will be granted some leeway to escape incarceration, so that they don't worsen government-labor relations. Because that is one step we should not take. That's one step. Well, thank you for being there. We'll go to a short break for this half hour. When we come back for the next half hour, we keep the ball rolling on this discussion. And that's the discussion on Press Round Table. Coming to you live from Atlantic Television Network, from the Garden City of Port Harcourt. Stay glued. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's look more at some of the stories that are trending, this time coming from election petitions. Governorship and National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Jalingo, the capital of Taraba State, has upheld the election of Mark Useni representing Takum Donga Usa Federal Constituency. Useni, former Speaker of the Assembly, was dragged before the election tribunal in the state by the candidates of New Nigerian People's Party, Riman Shaul, and the People's Democratic Party, Barrister Estafinos Aruna Ghana, Bana. Joe had urged the tribunal to cancel the election and order a fresh exercise in consistency, adding that he did not get the lawful number of votes to be declared as the winner of the election. Reading on the petitions, the tribunal chairman, Justice Ensinobu, dismissed the two petitions on the ground that the petitions collapsed on failure of proof by petitioners. Seni reacting, the ruling described the judiciary as hope for the common man, urging the duo in the joint to join hands with him to catapult the constituency to greater heights. That is the ambivalence in our electoral election process. The ambivalence comes from the fact that when you win at any of the judiciary outposts, whether it's a petition tribunal or the main court, the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. But when you lose, you come out to say, Nigerian judiciary needs to be reformed. They are corrupt, they are this, they are that. Do we have anything wrong with the judiciary or something wrong with the electoral process? Where is the problem coming from in Nigeria in the first place?
Sometimes it's all emotional.
Yeah.
Sometimes people blind their eyes to the truth and reality, and a lot of persons prefer, generally speaking, right now, prefer going with what pleases them and not what's true. So in this very case, we need to go for the final say. The tribunal has the final verdict, isn't it? So if the tribunal says something, and of course, then that means we're good to go. Because I mean, they are able to, before they come up with a decision, they would have gone through all the processes rather, verified everything verifiable, or coming up with a particular decision. So at that point, if we still have level of trust in the judiciary, you'll be able to believe that okay, what they are doing is right. And let's sometimes get rid of the whole idea of that being manipulated. No, sometimes it's not even the case. It could be the truth that has been split out.
Because what is happening now is a state where Nigerians don't seem to know where the problem is coming from. We don't seem to be able to locate the problem with Nigeria. Some say it's judiciary when it comes to elections, in choice of leaders. But the problem actually lies with the electoral process. If elections are not rigged, if there are no electoral fraud, will anybody go to court?
No.
And would the court be looking at anything outside the evidence before them? No. So that is the problem we have. For anybody to point accusing fingers at the judiciary, you have to look at the processes that bring about the litigations that the judiciary adjudicates. However, it's also important to look at the judiciary too. Are they really being upright?
Neutral?
Are they being neutral? Are they being dispassionate? Are they being, that lady blindfolded with a scale and a sword in the hand that does not look at any side of the case but the middle, which is the truth, which is the fact, which is what is within jurisprudence of the law. Possibly, most importantly, looking at the point of the jury rather than de facto. So I think that should be the line of thinking.
Line of thinking.
Yes.
Okay. True. I mean, just like you rightly said when you started, when it favors them, they believe yes, the judiciary is clean and pure.
Exactly.
But when the reverse is the case, then there is no hope in the judiciary. However, I still stand to say the judiciary should remain independent. Personally,
independent, that's the word.
I always believe, I don't know why, but I always believe in the judiciary. Because sometimes we see what's happening around Nigeria, we get discouraged. But seeing how some of these judges are able to keep themselves from necessary scandal, to realize that.
And pressure.
And pressure. See that they are willing to really. The other day we were talking about some news where a woman threatened
a judge, yes,
who was only doing his job. But to tell you that some of those judges are doing the job, so
without fear of favor.
Without fear of favor. So I still really believe that to a great extent, the judiciary is pure. Because if the judiciary is not pure, then we are doomed.
Once you lose, because that the temple of justice, if it is secreted, then there's problem.
Exactly.
However, another however, I think there are some rotting eggs in the system.
Certainly.
Like in every Nigerian system. Because Nigeria suffers from some level of institutional failure. And so in most institutions, if you have 80% of people who are diligent, who have integrity, who are upright, you may have 20% who do not know why they are there, who are there for pecuniary reasons, and who are there to corrupt the system.
Very true.
Even though a lot of people believe that some lawyers, especially the senior ones, they walk into the chambers, alley chambers of the man on the bench, either magistrate or judge, have a handshake with him, they exchange banters, and the magistrate sees him out or the judge sees him off to the door, and he goes back. You see, I don't give up. So that, you see, so that is the problem.
That's it.
So some lawyers indulge them, some lawyers pretend to bribe them and carry their names. That is the problem.
That is really the problem. I'm speaking from an angle of being really positive.
Yes.
About the judiciary.
Yes, I like that.
I don't want to really.
That was why I gave them 90%, 80%.
You understand? I don't really believe that the judiciary is really having it. There are every disciple. There must be a Judas, certainly, and I'm sure the Judas may not necessarily be the senior ones, even the junior ones too. Sometimes what causes is greed, and the desire to quickly grow to a high level in the whole judiciary. But be it as it may, Steve, good people.
Yeah, now, generally,
Yes.
there is that tendency for you to be good because for you to go to the bench, you know you have the power of life and death. And so you have a divine purpose, a divine mandate to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Because your decision will lead to the death. Even under incarceration, somebody could go there and contract a fatal disease that will kill him.
Of course.
It's not just about pronouncing somebody guilty by hanging or by his firing squad. Merely sending somebody to prison for 3 days, you could get meningitis. You could pick up any manner of, and then the moral, the psychological breakdown can even lead to hypertension and death. So they have the life and death in their hand. And I'm sure those who sit on the bench in the temple of justice should realize their role in that, so that Nigerians will begin to have hope. So really, they ought to be the hope of the last hope of the common man. Because when a poor man is exploited and persecuted, emasculated, and even prosecuted innocently, so the judiciary will absolve you of such guilt and give you a clean slate.
And I don't know. I would just simply say anyone in the judiciary watching right now should really have the conscience and of course put Nigeria at the forefront of whatever they want to achieve. Because if you have that desire, and of course humanity, if you have such at heart, you would want to make real national decisions. And these decisions would of course help people to really grow and of course set at large.
Generally speaking, we need institutions that are very strong. Like they will say, we need strong institutions, not strong men. Because strong men destroy the system. We have strong institutions, the judiciary, the legislature, the executive, various levels of government, MDAs and all that. These are institutions that need to be strengthened in order to give Nigeria the positive strides that it does. Now let's look at this story. Abia State government has said it is sensitive to the plight of people with disabilities in the state, just as it has assured them of their inclusion in all its activities. Governor Alex Otis stated this yesterday when he addressed members of the state chapter of Lion Association Nigeria at the Government House, Maya, state capital. Members were on a solidarity visit to the governor as part of the activities to commemorate the 2023 National White Cane Safety Day celebration. Under his Chief of Staff, Pastor Caleb Ajaba, said it's because of this that his administration created agencies to cater for the vulnerable and the people with disability. This story is all about inclusivity. Nigeria should be a country of fairness, justice, and equity. Those who are disabled, who have one disability or the other, are also Nigerians. How do we include them in the governance structure? I saw a blind man I had a blind man who got first class at the University of Jos.
Wow.
So they are humans. And there is a level of disability in every human person at a particular age in life. From age of 70 in particular, late 60s, most people are no longer who they were at the beginning.
Indeed.
So disability is not just some of these conventional people we see as disabled. Some people are even mentally disabled too. Some level of psychological breakdown and all that. Depression leads to some level of madness. A large percentage of Nigerians are mad without even knowing it. Not many people, exactly. So a lot of disabilities abound in society. A large population of Nigeria, close to 60%, get disabled at one point or the other in life. And that is why disability policies that have to do with disability must be taken seriously. Disabled people must be taken seriously by government. In infrastructure, for example, how do you build your roads? Do you have walkways for those that will go on wheelchair? Those that are visually impaired? Do they have the right facilities to make them thrive in any environment? What about banks? Can they access bank entrance, churches, ATM, and all that? How do we help disabled in terms of infrastructural development? That's the first. So government must look at all this.
How to
take it from there.
On how to really include them.
Inclusivity.
They are humans.
Yes.
Because if the government is really considerate, trying to consider everybody, even those, so to speak, said to me, should be. I think we have a few schools for blind people.
Yes.
Few schools for
University faculties and
Yes,
departments.
exactly.
Departments.
But I still feel the government has more to do. They have more to do in
Aside the
regards to-
learning institutions.
Aside the learning institution, the normal social convention.
Exactly.
How are we really putting them in? You know, some of these, so to speak, disabled people, they have dreams they want to accomplish. Some of them cannot because of the society. How will I use it? A subconscious social stratification. You know, that literally excludes someone who is disabled, and the government you're forced to heal. And if you look around today, the normal youths, nobody wants to get. Many persons don't want to get married to people who are disabled. Now these are the same persons who get into the government office, and then when they get down there, CBT is the problem.
Exactly. When people say they don't want to get someone who is married, we say married to someone who is disabled. There are levels of disability. You marry a man at the age of 20, 25, 30, 40, you're all good. At a point in life, he can no longer walk the way he used to.
It deteriorates, yes.
So, disability can come anytime in life. We have aged parents who are no longer who they were.
Of course, they even have a cataract. Why don't
An old man, an old 80, 90, more than 90% of them use walking sticks. That's a level of disability. And they walk slowly. You saw my mother in that birthday dancing at 85. And her birthday, exactly. In her birthday, you saw her dancing. That's not the way she used to dance when we were younger. No, what I'm saying is that that's a level of disability at that age.
So either it comes early or later.
Exactly.
We are all at some point going to be disabled.
Disabled.
Truly. So why don't
That's
we
a level.
everybody
So let's have a social structure, an infrastructural policy that takes care of those who can no longer be what they ought to be as human beings, either in terms of visual impairment, in terms of being crippled in one way or the other, in terms of speech deficiency, and some people are totally paralyzed.
Really?
So what do we do? Are we really our brother's keeper And so the governor is right. People believe that the only way you can do the best for those suffering from one disability or the other is to include them in governance. How many commissioners, how many ministers belong to that, belong to the disabled? I hear a Pele, the albino, he sees albinism as a form of disability because they have a lot of visual issues and they have skin challenges. They are vulnerable to skin cancer and then visual impairment and all that. So that to people like Jake Epele is a level of, is their president in this country. It's a level of disability. He has been doing some kind of advocacy that they must be included in governance. Because it's only when they are included in governance that they can decide their fate. Because those who think that they are able today, who are in government, don't seem to think about them, don't seem to do things that will favor them. A minister of works constructs roads without giving room for them. Only very few churches like Corpus Christi Cathedral, for example, that I could see a wheelchair column at the,